Have you ever gotten one of those calls or a letter, maybe a postcard, with a picture of your own house on it saying, "We'll buy your home cash, as is, no repairs needed"? Most people laugh it off. An 83-year-old woman in Georgia didn't. She called the number, signed the papers, walked away with $82,000. 2 months later, same house, sold again. No repairs, no improvements, not one nail, for $171,000. That's an $89,000 loss in 60 days. Her daughter asked, how is that even possible? The buyer said, that's all I could do. Your mom agreed to it. And the reason I'm telling you this is because the same call, the same letter, the same postcard is sitting in someone's mailbox in your zip code right now. Maybe even in your mailbox. Here's what nobody tells you. She's not the exception. She's part of a pattern. And before we go any further, I'm not here to villainize anybody, not investors, not agents, not homeowners. This is about 3 situations, predictable, common, happening right now. And if you know what they look like, you stay in control. If you don't, somebody else makes the decision for you. Each one has a trigger. Each one has a pattern. And each one has something most homeowners miss entirely. An aha moment that changes how you see the whole thing. And if you've ever thought about selling, or if someone in your family has, what I'm about to show you is exactly why that call isn't random and exactly what they already know about you before you pick up the phone. So let's go. Let me paint the scenario. You or your spouse has a health event, a fall, a hospital stay, a diagnosis, and suddenly the timeline you had, the comfortable will sell when the time is right timeline, disappears overnight. And here's what most people think happens next. You list a house, buyers make offers, you negotiate, you sell. That's the version people imagine. Here's what actually happens. The moment your situation changes, your behavior changes, and buyers, especially experienced investors, don't need you to tell them you're in a hurry. They can read it. The way showings get scheduled, how fast you respond, whether you push back on an inspection request or just let it go, whether you counter at all or just say yes. None of that is about the house. All of that is about your timeline. Here's the thing most homeowners don't know, and this is the part that should hit you. Research found that sellers over 70 net on average about 5% less than middle-aged sellers on otherwise comparable homes. So in a $400,000 house, that's $20,000 that left your pocket and went into someone else's. Not because your house wasn't worth it, because of how the sale was structured. But here's what's buried in that finding that almost nobody talks about. The gap isn't primarily about the house's condition. It's about how the home was sold. Specifically, older sellers are significantly more likely to sell off-market, meaning privately, outside the MLS, with limited buyer exposure. Illinois actually tested what happens when you change that. They updated one rule, forced more private listings onto the public market, and the age-related price gap measurably shrank. Not because the houses got better, but because more buyers saw them. That's the whole game. And here's the part that's uncomfortable. According to research, the same stress that creates the urgency, the fear, the exhaustion, this is exactly what makes a number feel fair when it isn't. It's not a character flaw, it's biology. And the experienced buyer knows it. That's a tough realization that we all will have to face one day. Now, I bring this up because it's important for a reason. Because this isn't rare, this isn't isolated. The woman in Georgia isn't a cautionary tale. She's a data point and a pattern the FBI has been tracking for years. Nearly 1,500 people over the age of 60, $65 million last year alone. It's not that the house wasn't worth more, it's that the sale was structured in a way that couldn't produce more. The buyer didn't create urgency, the buyer just responded to it. And if the sale is private and fast, there are no competing offers to push the price up. There's just whatever single buyer puts in front of you. Now here's the uncomfortable move. When you're in a health situation, when you're exhausted, when your family is scared, when you just want this handled, the offer on the table doesn't feel like a negotiation, it feels like relief. and relief has a price. The resolution here isn't don't sell fast. Sometimes you have to sell fast. The resolution is know what fast costs you before you say yes. Because the most dangerous moment isn't when someone lowballs you, it's when a lowball offer feels like a gift. Now that's the first situation, and it happens because of something you can feel. The second one is sneakier, because it doesn't show up as urgency, it shows up as your house, quietly telling buyers something you didn't know it was saying. You lived in this house for 25 to 30 years. You know every creak, you know every quirk, the faucet in the third bathroom that's always run a little slow, the ceiling that was patched after an ice dam in 2009, the deck that needs new boards but still holds fine. It's your house. You know it. Here's what the buyer sees, a deferred maintenance signal. And here's the part that stings. They're not just pricing the repairs, they're pricing your posture. This is the one most homeowners miss entirely. When a buyer walks into a house that clearly hasn't been updated, not just in need of repair, but obviously lived in and done, they don't just see the cost, they see motivation. They see someone who is mentally finished with the house. And here's why that matters strategically. A buyer who believes you're mentally done has very little incentive to offer more, because you've already told them through the house itself that you're not going to fight for it. That's not a judgment, that's psychology. And the experienced buyer, especially the investor, is very good at reading the difference between a seller who will hold the line and a seller who is emotionally detached. Emotionally detached gets priced differently. Now add one more layer to this. In some states, visible distress isn't just visible to buyers who walk through the door. Code violation notices are public. Tax delinquencies are public. Permit histories are public. And yes, there are data platforms that aggregate all of it. Flag the property and send it directly to investors before you've thought about listing. So when people say, how do these people even know to contact me? They know because the house told them. The house has been broadcasting your situation to anyone willing to listen. Now, I'm not saying fix everything before you sell it. That's not always practical. That's not always smart financially. But here's the awareness move. If you're not fixing it, you need to know what it costs you. And you need to have a counter strategy. Counter strategy means you're on the MLS, not off of it. Full exposure, real competition, because the research is clear. When older sellers go off market, they lose. Not sometimes, consistently. The house doesn't have to be perfect, but the sale has to be structured for competition, not convenience. Because convenience is the mechanism that moves equity from your pocket to someone else's. Now, the third situation is the most emotionally complicated one. Because it's not just one person selling, now it's a family. And the pressure doesn't show up as urgency. It shows up as a conflict. A spouse passes or a parent passes. And now there's a house, an estate, a timeline, and a family that all have to agree on something while grieving. Here's what people imagine. The family talks, gets aligned, picks an agent, and sells a house. Here's what usually happens. One sibling wants it sold yesterday. One wants top dollar and wants to do it right. One lives 900 miles away. And the executor just wants to stop the bleeding. Nobody's wrong. Everyone's overwhelmed. And while the family is sorting that out, the clock is running. The property taxes don't pause for grief. Insurance doesn't pause. A vacant house doesn't pause. Every month that house sits, it costs money. And this pressure builds quietly until someone in the family says, can we just be done with this? Here's the piece that's hiding in plain sight. Vacant homes, especially in probate, show up in public records. Property data systems flag them. And there is an entire category of investors whose job is to find exactly these properties. Contact the family and make an offer before the home ever hits the market. Not after, before. These aren't random door knocks. They're targeted. The investor knows the property is an estate. They know it's vacant. They know there's likely no single decision maker. And they know that the fragmented decision making under time pressure almost always ends in a faster, cheaper resolution for them. You're not being found by accident. You're being found because the system is transparent. And some people watch the transparency like a hawk. And here's where it gets harder, because this is where families accidentally negotiate against themselves. One family member leaks urgency. They say something like, "We just really need to wrap this up." And that sentence, said in passing, said out of exhaustion, just became a negotiating position. The buyer tightens, not because they're evil, because that sentence told them everything they needed to know about your holding power. In a probate or a family sale, alignment isn't just emotional, it's financial. When decision makers aren't aligned, the negotiation becomes unstable. And unstable negotiations get priced defensively or exploited by the opportunist, depending on who's sitting across from you. The mini solution here, before you talk to a single buyer, the family has to agree on one thing first. Not the price, not the agents, the timeline they're willing to hold. Because if you can't answer, "How long can we carry this?" the buyer will answer it for you. So here's the most important distinction in this entire video. There are two kinds of selling: chosen and reactive. Chosen selling is when you control the timeline. You list when you're ready. You're done with the math. You've had the family conversation. You know what you will accept and what you won't. Reactive selling is when the timeline controls you. And here's the thing about reactive selling that nobody tells you. It doesn't always feel reactive. It sometimes feels like you're being practical. Sometimes it feels like you're protecting your family from more stress. Sometimes it feels like the offer is fair and you've been in this house for long enough. That quiet, reasonable feeling, that let's just be done feeling, that's the most expensive sentence in real estate. Because when urgency makes the decision, the other side already won. So here's what to watch for starting now. Watch your own signals. How you communicate about the house. How you respond to showings and how quickly you say yes. Buyers read all of it before they write a number. Watch the off-market pitch. Someone approaches you before the house is listed, especially in a probate or a house situation. That timing is not coincidence. It's strategy. Get a market analysis before you respond. Watch the convenience language. We'll close fast. We'll take it as is. You don't have to clean anything out. Some of that is genuine service. Some of it is mechanism for moving equity. If you can't tell the difference yet, that's the moment you need a neutral third party in the room. Here's what I want to leave you with. This isn't about demonizing investors. It's not about saying every cash offer is predatory. Some cash offers are legitimate. Some are exactly what a family needs in a hard moment. You deserve to know that the offer on the table isn't always pricing the house. Sometimes it's pricing you. And the moment you understand that, you stop negotiating blind. You slow down the part that needs slowing. You bring in someone neutral when the pressure is high. And you protect the thing you spent 30 years building. If you've been through one of these situations, a health event, a family sale, a house that sat too long, drop it in the comments, because I can tell you right now, you're not the only one. If you're watching this and you see yourself in one of these situations, even if it's not urgent yet, have the conversation early. You don't have to commit to anything, but understanding your leverage before the pressure shows up changes everything. Now, if you want that kind of clarity, my contact information is in the description below. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this to be helpful, and I will see you next time.